Greetings. This is a review of the Acer Chromebook 13. The model number is CB5 311. This is a fairly high-end Chromebook. Costs a little bit under $400 at retail price from Amazon, and it has a lot of really excellent features that I hope to describe many of them to you today. And I'll show you around the Chromebook a little bit and talk about some of my personal experiences with it. First off, I'll say that if you get a Chromebook like this, it's a good idea to go through the tutorial. There are definitely some differences between your traditional notebook computer and the various operating systems that you've probably experienced before versus what you get with a Chromebook. It's definitely a bit different. It's a good idea to do that. Now, that being said, I think you'll find it's actually a rather enjoyable experience to do it. I think I've had a lot of fun messing with this unit, and it's been, I think, a really good experience, and I'm going to keep using it and not return it or anything like that. It's been really good. So here are some of the interesting things about the Chromebook that you'll see here. I'm going to flip back and forth from my Evernote notepad that I have on this Chromebook too, because I have some notes there that I want to make sure I remember. First off, right out of the box, the whole thing is very secure. It feels very sturdy, even though it's just plastic. It feels really good in the hands. It's very, very light, and it's relatively easy to use right off the bat. As long as you have a Google account, you can start it up, and it will start in literally under 10 seconds, which is, to me, that's just unheard of for a laptop, right? It's fantastic, and you can get started very, very quickly, just so long as you have a Google account. It works really well right out of the box in that respect. The white body that you see here, I think it does sort of lend itself to smudges, and so you might want to be a little careful about that if you care about that physical appearance and whatnot. But if you're a power user and you get dirty with it, well then, just be aware that it's probably going to smudge a little bit. I'll tell you, I didn't miss Windows as much as I thought I would at first, just right off the bat. With depending on the type of laptop user you are, you're going to find that this could be a really good possible change to your workflow a little bit. And even though you might miss things like Microsoft Office and whatnot, I think you'll find that there's a lot of benefits to using something as simple as a Chromebook, which is kind of like it's somewhat like using a tablet in that you don't have quite the functionality of a power desktop, but you certainly in this case have more power than a tablet in any way, shape, or form. There's a lot more that you can do with this. I'll tell you as well, one of the fun things about this is that because it's running off of a solid-state hard drive, it is really, really fast, and it's really, really quiet. It's really excellent in that regard. I just absolutely love it. It's a blazing fast device overall because it's not having to run a big, heavy operating system. I've in fact had really impressive performance with this, even with just watching Netflix in a hotel room with hotel room grade Wi-Fi. It was easy to deal with. It also has, of course, helping that along is that it has 802.11 AC wireless, which is the next generation above N, which is great. It definitely you definitely can feel that when you're on an AC system. So here's some things you might be interested in. One of the funny things about a Chromebook like this is that the keyboard, especially for Windows users, is a bit different than what you're used to. Much like the MacBooks, you do not have a home and end key and a delete key. That is probably the most noticeable thing about this that I probably just didn't like. So you kind of have to get used to the fact that you don't have a home key, you don't have an end key, you don't have a delete key, which normally would be over, in this side over here. You don't have that. Another fun thing, though, this is kind of funny. Notice you don't have a caps lock key. This will be terrible for those of you who like to yell a lot on the internet. This, instead of a caps lock key, is a search key, which is pretty cool. So that's actually kind of neat. I actually kind of like that. Getting away from the caps lock is pretty good. Now you'll also note there's no separate buttons for the mouse pad. It does have a kind of a light touch so that would be a single click and whatnot. There's also, however, there is a way you might notice there's not really a right click key. How would you do that? Well, in fact, the way this works is that if you hold Alt and you click somewhere, you will get a right click equivalent. So that's one way to do it. You also have, of course, two touch scrolling. So that will allow you to do that. That's very nice. It works very well. The touchpad is very responsive overall. Okay, around the unit, you'll also find, you of course have your standard USB slots. You have two. You also have an SD card slot. Now I have been using this because I wanted to try it out, and it's really nice. The SD card slot worked very, very well, and I was impressed on that. Okay, let's see what else I got here. I absolutely love the fact that you have a 12-hour battery life. You know, unlike most laptops, this is very low power consumption overall. You know, if you're just doing basic internet work and whatnot, you're not going to use a lot of power. It will last well over 10 hours, and it's really nice in that respect. Okay. Another thing about the keyboard, before we go any farther, I almost forgot this. You'll notice at the top here, there are no longer the traditional function keys over here. Instead, you have a bunch of very specific types of buttons that do very specific things. You'll note you'll have brightness adjustment keys, and you'll have volume adjustment keys, and a power button, of course, at the top too. These are actually really handy to have around. I did not miss the function keys pretty much at all. It turns out, in fact, though, that you can actually go, and if you really don't like it, you can switch back and use F1 through F12. You just got to go to the settings, and you just flip the switch, and there you go. It's done. So that's pretty awesome off the bat, too. Okay, so that's really good. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about here? We talked about the SD card. Oh, there's another interesting thing. So one of the cool things that you can do with this too is that you can use OK Google, and it will do searching for you. And you heard that little beep there. In fact, what it was doing is it was figuring out what I wanted to do. Let's try it again. OK Google. There it is. And so now if I talk, well, there it is. It's figuring out what I'm saying, and it'll do a search on that. And voila. So that's pretty cool. It does actually a fairly good job at doing that. It's actually rather nice. In this case, it brought up Amadeus 1984 quotes. Okay, well, there you go. That was a pretty good movie, by the way. So that's kind of a neat, fun little thing you can do with it. Now, I will say there's a couple other things that I haven't tried. I have not done any serious video chatting yet, or used Skype. So I haven't really tried that out. I have tried some just still pictures, and they look fine. It's not a particularly great camera. It's nothing to write home about, but you have it, and so that's kind of nice. You do also have Google Drive. This actually, in this particular purchase, you'll even see here, it says right here, you're going to get 100 gigabyte Google Drive free for 2 years. That's good, but it turns out, though, if you do a little searching on the net, you can actually get up to 1 terabyte for free for up to 2 years. So you might, if you want to do that, then that's kind of handy, and you can do that. Now, it does require it to be connected to a device. So you can't just buy the Chromebook, get the terabyte for free for 2 years, and then go return the Chromebook. That's not going to work. It is tied to the device like that. I'll tell you one other thing, though, that has bothered me, and I don't know if this is just my device or if this is chronic. This may be a chance for me to figure out whether or not we're going to get good customer service out of Acer. But I have noticed, and I don't know if it's, I haven't noticed it in recording this video, but I've occasionally received some screen glitches that have not been pretty. I have not liked that at all. It's usually about an inch in width and across the length of the screen. It's just rather random, and I don't know anything other than it's just a random possible lemon part of the computer. That's really disappointing, and so I'm going to talk to Acer about this, and I will update my review once I get word back, and we'll find out whether their customer service is really good too. So I hope you've enjoyed this review. There's a lot of really good that I could go into even more on Chrome and the Chromebook and everything. I think you'll really enjoy it, though. Whether or not it's worth $400 to you is really a matter of if you think you're going to be a power user with Chrome or not. If you're just looking for a throwaway computer that you can take along with you and not worry about it, you might want to consider going with a slightly less powerful model. But if you're really intending to be a power user of Chrome like this, I really can't imagine that you could find much better in any laptop department for this. Since we spend so much time with the browser, this is a really good option. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you will too.